Chu, Diana Vandekar, Gregory Chun, Andy Adamson, Chancellor Bonnie Irwin, and Regent Wayne Higaki. And we are all remotely calling in, except I think Greg Chun is at the Institute for Astronomy office, which would be our public location for anyone wanting to attend the meeting in person. If everyone can do so, I am here by myself on the Zoom meeting. Billy?
Yes, I'm by myself also.
And Diana?
I'm by myself also.
And Gregory or Greg?
Yeah, I'm here in the office by myself.
Okay, Andy?
Yes, by myself.
And Chancellor Bonnie?
Yes, alone in my office. Thank you.
Okay. And Regent Wayne?
I think he might be having internet
Oh, okay.
connection.
I'm thinking he is also by himself. Oh, and Nahua has joined us. Nahua?
Yes, I'm by myself.
Okay, great. We will start the meeting. There were no testimonies received, either written or oral. So we can move on to the approval of the minutes of the January 4th meeting.
Chair,
Yes.
could I need to make a motion to amend the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Oh,
So if I could just take a moment here to explain what the situation is. So I'm going to be making a motion to amend tonight's agenda to include a new business action item regarding the NASA IRTF camera installation project. I was originally going to cover this project in my executive director report, but this should have been included as an action item on the agenda, as it does require a site plan approval from OCCL, which is one of the triggers for this body's approval. You have the background materials on the project that has been provided to you folks. Per Sunshine Law and Office of Information Practices guidance, and consulting with Gary, our attorney, we are allowed to amend the agenda at this meeting as long as the matter does not affect a significant number of people and is not of reasonably major importance. We believe the installation of these cameras primarily affects IRTF personnel and operations, and as indicated in the background materials in our action memo, is properly considered a minimal impact project. However, in order to amend the agenda and to include this as an action item instead of an information item, as we had planned on, we do require a 2/3 affirmative vote of this board. So before I make the motion, I'd just like to see if there's any questions about what I'm seeking to do.
anyone have questions? Please raise your hand. I see no hands raised, so you can move forward, Greg.
Okay, so I move to amend tonight's agenda to include a new business action item regarding the NASA IRTF camera installation project. Specifically to amend the agenda so that this be included as action as item 6B on our agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Diana. We have a motion to amend the agenda and a second. Is there further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimously approved. All right.
Thank you.
So, Chair and Greg, just for the record, because of the sunshine law requirement that he mentioned, if you can confirm that the vote just taken constituted at least 2/3 of all members to which the board is entitled, that would be good.
Yes, thank you. Yes, confirming that the unanimous vote represents more than 2/3 of the membership of the Maunakea Management Board as required by the Sunshine Law. Oops.
Was that okay, Gary?
I'm sorry, somebody called me right at the critical
Yeah.
moment and I was trying to get off the phone. Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, I just confirmed that the unanimous vote was taken by representation of more than 2/3 of the membership of the Mauna Kea Management Board as required by the Sunshine Law.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
So we will now discuss for approval the minutes of the January 4th meeting. January 4th, 2022 meeting. Are there any changes to the minutes as submitted? If not, could I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. I have a motion by Billy Bergen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Greg Chun. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, please raise your hand or say aye.
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 Okay, we have unanimous approval from the Mauna Kea Management Board of the minutes submitted for the January 4th, 2022 meeting. Okay, we will move now to Kangkumana Report.
So the Kangkumana did not meet 2 weeks ago as they were scheduled to due to some unforeseen scheduling conflicts. So they are scheduled to meet this Thursday again, although that is pending confirmation of some schedules as well. So I have nothing to report formally on from Kangkumana. I have been in communication with Shane Nelson, who chairs the committee. And I know that one thing that they continue to work on is recruitment of new members. But I also know that they are also there's a lot of interest, let me just say, in the recently announced resignation of Keola Lindsay, Trustee Keola Lindsay from the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. So I believe they will probably be wanting to discuss that matter when they next meet. But that's all I really have at this point, Chair, from Kangkumana.
Okay, thank you. Then we can move on to your Executive Director's report.
Okay, thank you. So number of items I wanted to update folks on. You should have received an email, a copy of the UHERO Economic Impact Study that was recently updated on the impact of astronomy in the state of Hawaii. That's a study that was done originally in 2014, which was based at that time on 2012 numbers. Over the years, I and many others have received numerous requests for and inquiries as to when or if that analysis would ever be updated. It's something that we wanted to do for a while, and work started on it about 3 or 4 months ago. This current report, which is still in draft form, is based on 2019 numbers. And all we've have at this point that was released is a draft of the executive summary. So as you see in the report, if you've had a chance to review it, total direct spending of astronomy operations statewide, that means all counties are included, was 110 million, with the overall impact coming in at 220 million. In Hawaii County, the spending was 57 million, and with an impact of 101 million, clearly accounting for the majority of the total statewide impact. The report is still in draft format. The final is scheduled to be completed later this spring. And the final is to include an analysis of astronomy within the broader context of economic diversification in the state, and some of the more qualitative aspects of the community impact of astronomy. Those analyses take a bit more time because they are more qualitative. So we anticipate the full report being ready later in the spring. So before I go on to anything else, are there any questions on the impact study? Hearing none, the next item I wanted to update the board on is update on my discussions with Mayor Roth and Blnr Chair Suzanne Case regarding ex-officio membership on Maunakea Management Board. As we all know, we passed a motion back in December recommending to the UH administration that we move forward with restructuring of the Maunakea Management Board along the lines of what had been identified as option 4A in the analysis that we did a couple of years ago. I have been able to meet with both Mayor Roth and Chair Case. Both are open to this, to the idea of having membership on Maunakea Management Board. Both have recommended, given their jurisdictions, respective jurisdictions, that that these seats be non-voting seats. So they would be non-voting ex-officio members on the board. The mayor is personally willing to sit on the Maunakea Management Board, which is what we had hoped. But Chair Case indicates this would probably be difficult, not just for her, but for future chairs, just due to the number of boards and commissions that position already sits on. That position is an ex-officio member of several boards and commissions, including the Department of Ag, HTA, Hawaii Tourism Authority, and a number of others. In addition, the land board chair, oversees 2 land board meetings a month, plus they also serve as chair of the Water Commission, which meets once a month. So she indicated that she felt that it would be difficult for the person sitting in that seat to actually participate on the Maunakea Management Board as we had hoped. She herself is willing to designate a director level person, but even that, she indicated, may be difficult in some cases because many of her directors are also her designees on other boards and commissions that she cannot personally attend and sit on. I have not yet heard back from OHA or Hawaiian Homes. I have reached out to them. So this is just an update. I suggest we discuss how to proceed. We'll have a better idea on how to proceed once we understand how OHA and DHHL feel about this this restructuring. I found both conversations very positive. They understood the rationale, but I think we just have to kind of see where we end up so we can work through some of the practicalities of making this happen. So I have several other items to go on to, but let me stop there and see if there's any questions from board members.
So DHHL and OHA have replied that they don't have sufficient time, right?
No, they just haven't replied.
Oh, they haven't replied at all.
Yeah. So I have to ping them again.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. CMP update, planning updates. I know we have a agenda item for discussion later on, so I'll defer really getting into that too much at this point. But Nahu and I are reviewing it. We do have an internal draft of the entire document that we are updating, and we're reviewing it now with our consultant team. We just had a 2-hour meeting this afternoon. We're going to meet tomorrow again, or an 1.5-hour meeting this afternoon. We're going to meet tomorrow again. Our goal is to have a draft of that ready for these bodies, or the advisory groups review of the entire draft, along with public review ready to kick off in March. So we can talk more about it later on in the agenda. House Bill 2024, legislation based on the Maunakea Working Group report, was formally introduced by Representatives Nakashima, Tarnas, Cullen, and Eli. It has been referred to Water and Land, Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs, and Finance. But at last check this afternoon, when I checked the legislative website, no hearings have yet been scheduled. The legislation basically follows the governance structure that was recommended by the Maunakea Working Group in their final report. Our government relations folks are actively tracking this and following the calendar, and they'll let us know when hearings are scheduled. And I'll be preparing testimony on behalf of the university, primarily based on the response that we submitted to the working group when they put out the report for public comment. So at this point, we're just waiting to see when hearings get scheduled. Any questions on HB 2024? Okay. Next item is we just wanted to make sure it was officially recognized and documented. I think Roberta and I have both mentioned this before, but we did receive a resignation from Keahi Warfield from this board. As we know, he's had a hard time given his schedule and other commitments and other matters, being able to participate fully. We wanted to make sure that we had on record that we have received this resignation, and so we do have that vacancy now on the board. I don't know if anyone has any questions about that, but my purpose here in just mentioning this is again to just make sure we officially have this on record that Keahi has tendered his resignation, or did tender his resignation in December. Any questions on that matter? Okay. And then the last item I have is, as we know, Sunshine Law has been amended. The rules governing Sunshine Law have been amended. And those new amendments were to have taken effect on January 1st. Governor has issued a second proclamation now extending a suspension of certain aspects of those requirements. The particular one I wanted to make sure that we had on record is that when that suspension is lifted, there is a requirement for CMS to provide, and Maunakea Management Board to provide access to a location for in-person participation in our meetings. So even though our meetings may be held virtually, we will be required to provide one location where people could actually come and attend the meeting virtually and even provide their testimony if that's what they choose to do. We are working on the specific logistics of that. Carrie, Nahua, and I are working on that with our building managers and others. But at this point, the requirement for providing that location is still indefinitely suspended, and I'm not quite sure when that will be lifted. But again, we just wanted to make sure we got that on the record as well. We are aware of the requirement, and we will be making that fulfilling that requirement when the suspension is lifted.
And Greg, if I could jump in here, I mean,
Sure.
if there is interest on the part of the board to move that public space when the time comes to somewhere on the Hilo main campus to provide more access, we're happy to have that conversation with CMS.
Okay, great.
Let me
Thank
know.
you. That was one of the options that we had identified and who and I wanted to pursue. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on that?
So Greg,
Mhm.
maybe I'll take a moment to just comment about those amendments to the Sunshine Law that took effect this year. One of them, of course, which you're practicing, is to verify for whether anybody is with those participating remotely. But just since I missed last month's meeting, this is my first one in the new year. Just to be clear, you only have to ask that of the board members. So you don't need to ask the chancellor or Nahua or me if we are with anybody else. Just one last thing to do.
Okay,
Thanks.
so no ex-officio then, just the main board.
Well, all the board members. So I think whether they're ex-officio or not, you should ask, but not staff or other people attending.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't the chancellor ex-officio? No.
Not yet, not yet.
Oh, my
It's just a-
bad.
But
Sorry.
technically the board reports to me and advises me. So I'm not actually on the board.
Ah.
I just attend because it's a fun way to spend my Tuesday night.
And Roberta, for the record, this is Wayne. I think when you were going around the room earlier, I lost my connection. So I'm here to let you know that there's no one else in the room with me except for Toshi.
Okay. All
So
right.
that concludes my executive director's report, unless there's any other questions.
Okay. So sorry, I forgot the new business. Is that before the ongoing? I know it just says agenda item, so I was going to actually have you bring up the new business before we go into the CMS natural resource update.
Actually, the motion I made was to insert it in between the CMS natural resource update and the
Oh.
CMP discussion.
Oh, okay.
We
Okay.
can have the update and then we can take on the new business, the action item.
Okay, so we will now move on to agenda item A. 6A, information and discussion on the CMS natural resource update.
So Carrie's going to let Jessica in, Jessica Kirkpatrick. So while she's dropping in, just a little background. So we've been wanting to do this update with Maunakea Management Board for a bit. We like to provide updates to all our advisory groups, obviously. And initially we were, I think, we had scheduled to do it at a special meeting, but we felt that this was something really important that we should do it at one of our public meetings. So Jessica, has provided the update to the Environment Committee and Kangkumana previously. So this is really just an update on all of the natural resource management program and the work that she and her team have been doing. It's an opportunity for her and her team to really kind of and for us to kind of highlight the good work that they've been doing and recognize that work. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Jess, and I think you probably have a PowerPoint or something.
Yep. All right. Aloha, everyone. Thank you for letting me be here today to give you guys a resource update. So let me share my screen. Give me a moment. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I know the board is kind of familiar with the historic property monitoring because I brought to you the archaeological monitoring report. But just to recap, we did visit 90 sites this past year, finished all of the annual sites. We got to some of the 3-year sites and a few of the 5-year sites. The important thing is that there were no changes to these historic property sites. And we also did not identify any new invasive species threats at these sites. And the map here just shows all the sites that we visited. So a lot of the work that we do in the natural resource program really revolves around invasive species management. One of the best ways to manage invasive species is to prevent them from getting up to the mountain in the first place. And so we conduct inspections of large equipment and supplies, pretty much anything bigger than what one person can carry, so 200 pounds or more. And also trucks that have 3 or more axles. They need to be inspected before they come onto the UH management area. So last year, we inspected 57 trucks and equipment, and 3 of those loads were actually rejected, and the vendor had to remediate our concerns before they were allowed to go onto our management area. We also do early detection and monitoring. If we can detect the invasive species early, then we have a better chance of being able to control them. And then we also monitor some of the invasive species that we already know that we have up there that we're not able to actually eradicate. And so one of the things we do is facility monitoring. We use these sticky traps that are baited with peanut butter, jelly, and spam. They're really to attract insects. Most ants, especially ants, are actually our #1 concern, are attracted to one of the 3 types of baits. And so we have traps out all the time at Halepohaku, and we replace those monthly. And so throughout the year, we place 72 traps. We also have traps that we place in all the facilities, and we do that quarterly. And that totaled 236 traps. We did not find any new invasive species threats this year in our traps, which is a good thing. Something interesting that we did find is a new native weevil that we captured at Halepohaku, a Protorhinus species. And we've actually never detected this species on our land before, so that was kind of interesting. Another part of early detection and monitoring is we're also looking for new invasive plant threats. This year we found 2 plant threats, a California burrweed, which is actually the highest recorded elevation of this species in Hawaii. And then we also found a 4-leaf allseed, which is another invasive weed. We remove these weeds and then we actually put them in a plant press so that we can better identify them in the future. And we continue to monitor the area where we first detected these. A big push for our early detection and monitoring is our annual Arthropod surveys. Within our management area and also within the Natural Area Reserve, we have 111 sites. This map here shows the different sites that we visit. We set out a variety of trap types to detect different types of insects. We have a yellow pan trap, a baited pitfall, unbaited pitfall trap, a peanut butter, jelly, and spam stick. Those are specifically for ants. And we also conduct a hand search at all of these sites. We do this monitoring in the summer months. It takes us about 2 months to complete. And our initial screening of specimens, we found no new invasive species threats, but we're still going through our specimens in our freezer to confirm everything that we captured last year. We did find some interesting little flies. This is a Ceratopogonidae, a midge fly, and we've never captured that before. It is not a threat, but it's something that is kind of interesting. As part of our annual arthropod monitoring, we also are monitoring for the Vacue bug. So we're monitoring threats to the Vacue bug, but also monitoring the population of the Vacue bug itself. And this graph just gives you an idea of kind of their capture abundance by year. Since 2007, our trapping has been consistent, and so it's we can compare it to all the later years. This past year, we actually had a pretty high Vacue bug year, just under 3,000 Vacue bugs we collected. And we do a capture and release, so we count them, we identify their life stage, whether or not they're male or female, and then we release them back into the environment. The increase in Vacue bugs this year, last year, could have been due to the increase in precipitation that we had throughout the year. And insect populations in general are extremely variable from year to year, and the Vacue bug shows the same trend. The important thing is that we're finding all the different life stages on all the different cinder cones and different genders, and that shows that Vacue bugs are reproducing and growing. Now I'm going to switch gears into native plant restoration. We actually completed our greenhouse, the construction of the greenhouse in December of 2020. And so last year we completed our plant bench construction. We also placed signage around our restoration area to keep visitors out of the restoration area. And we were also able to hook up a water containment unit to actually collect water from the roof of the greenhouse. And so we have water that is readily available for our plants. And this just shows our restoration area. We really got started in August of 2019. This is right above the new Biz parking lot. And as you can see, there's no vegetation here. The picture below shows August of 2020. We put some jute mat, which is to help with erosion. And we also started planting some trees. So you can see some vegetation starting to fill in. And this is what it looked like just a couple of months ago. So we really saw a huge growth in our restoration area. Some of our veil plants are now 4 feet tall. So we're very proud of our restoration area and we're very excited. We're also seeing some of our plants start to set seed, which is really exciting. So just within our plant restoration area, these are plant counts of things that are established in the ground. We have just under 500 mamane, and the vast majority of those mamane are mamane that came up on their own. So they're naturally regenerating, which is great. We also planted about 120 veil total since we started the restoration area, and we are seeing our veil start to seed. Povale, that number seems kind of small, only 17, but we actually only had a few individuals within our management area, and now we have 17 just within our restoration area, which is a very small area, and so we're pretty excited about that. Also Puakala, which is our Hawaiian poppy, there's a picture down here. We have Ena, which is all naturally regenerating. We never planted it, but it is a native herb and it is kind of taking over, and so we have we had to estimate that number. And then we also have quite a few native grasses that are also naturally regenerating. So these are just some photos from our restoration area. This is the pavale that I was talking about that was kind of rare in our management area. And we see that it started to flower and set seed, which is really exciting. This is a veil here, and we are measuring the growth of all of these plants. And then here's a little mamane that came up all on its own. And what we're noticing is if we keep the area free of weeds, that we're seeing a lot more regeneration of native plants coming back. And within our restoration area, we removed 8,600 pounds of invasive weeds alone, just within this small area, which is pretty amazing for the small team that we have. And then our actual planting efforts, what we actually put in the ground this year. We planted 48 plants in the ground. Most of those were veil. So the veil are growing a lot faster than the mamane, which are much more slow growing. So when they're ready to plant, we plant them as soon as we can. We also started just under 800 mamane seeds in dibble tubes. Not all of those are going to take, but we're hoping that most of them will take and sprout. And then we also planted some trays of other kinds of seeds, some species that are uncommon, such as our Hawaiian mints, and also things like Dubalia arborea, the Maunakea Dubalia. We're still waiting for those to sprout. Some of our native species takes months to sprout. So we're hoping that we'll see some sprouts soon. There wasn't a whole lot of outreach opportunities that we had this year, but we did try to participate in any kind of outreach that was available. So these are the various outreach activities or events that we participated in. At the end of the year, we did a weed pull with the Mauna Kea observatories to kind of malama the Halepohaku area. You can see a before and after picture. And just within a couple of hours, between about 15 Mauna Kea observatory staff, we removed 1,400 pounds of invasive weeds. So together, that with the restoration area, we removed 10,000 pounds of invasive weeds from the mountain this past year, which is pretty exciting. And we do hope to resume our volunteer weed pull events once COVID restrictions are lifted. And these are our ongoing research projects that we're currently funding. I want to emphasize the Seabird and Bat project that's conducted by Dr. Pat Hart at UH Hilo. And from that project, they actually detected Ua'u on Mauna Kea for the first time since the 1960s, which is really exciting. They're continuing their research this year, trying to figure out how large this Ua'u population may be. And so we're really excited about the findings of that study. That concludes my presentation about the resources update. Thank you guys all for your time, and please let me know if you have any questions about anything.
I have a question, just curiosity. The mamani trees that are self-sowing, are you finding that they are above the altitude level where they were previously found?
No, the mamani are just right around Halepohaku. It's their known habitat.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
If I may, oh, sorry.
Sure.
Go ahead, Andy.
Okay, so the 3 loads that you had to reject going up, what was the problem? Was it just failure to clean the equipment and so on, or was there something specific?
Yeah, specifically there was a dumpster that needed to go up to the summit, and it had ants, and so I had to do multiple inspections and bait. Because it's a dumpster, we would use bait for that. And so I actually gave them some pesticides to spray on the dumpster, and we did not detect ants after they sprayed it multiple times.
So I just wanted to thank you, Jessica, for all your work. I know you had to and step in and hit the ground running, but I think you're doing a great job, and mahalo nui for all that you do.
Thank you.
Just as an FYI, Jessica did a similar presentation for our TCBES graduate program on campus that was very well received a couple of weeks ago. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you guys very much. Mahalo for your time.
Thank you.
Jess, are those your lecture, are they posted online now?
I'm not sure if they're posted yet. I know they're going to post it sometime this week.
Okay.
I'm sure they'll ping me when
Okay. Yeah, if you send us the links, then we can send it out to everybody.
Sure.
I think Regent Higaki, you were going to ask a question. Oh, you may have lost him again. Any other questions? I'm not quite sure. Oh, here we go. Wayne, did you have a question for Jessica? We kind of lost you. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I was waving thank you.
Oh.
Very, very good job.
Thank you. All right. Aloha, everyone.
Okay. Thanks, Jess.
Okay, so Greg, now we can move on to the cameras.
Yeah. So let me. I'm trying to fix my screen here. Excuse me. Okay, so you folks, this is the background materials that were provided with the meeting materials. And this is the action memo regarding the project. I won't go into all of the details, but we're certainly here to answer any questions. But this project is being requested by IRTF to add 3 digital cameras to their roof. One of them is actually a replacement camera, and the other 2 are new. The purpose of the cameras is for that they can monitor the dome surface and the roof surface for snow and ice, so they can adjust operations as required. They will be mounted on new 6-foot poles onto the roof, and the poles and the camera and the whole mounting system are designed to withstand 100+ mile-an-hour winds. This project was in IRTF's 2021 5-year plan, so this was something that they had already identified as needing to do. It was reviewed, the project was reviewed by both Kahukumana and Environment Committee, both of whom had no objections. As indicated in our action memo, we are asking that the board concur with staff's recommendation that this project be classified as minimal impact, and to approve it with the conditions that were outlined in the action memo. It will require a site plan approval from the Office of Coastal and Conservation Lands at DLNR. So that is something that we would be working with IRTF on securing. We have discussed the project with DLNR, so they know its general scope and purpose, and we've not received any indication that site plan approval would not be issued. So let me stop there and see if there's any questions.
Any questions from the board? If not, can I have a motion to approve as presented?
Move that.
So move, Andy. Okay, thank you, Andy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Diana. We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have a unanimous vote. Thank you. And then the next item is the draft comprehensive management plan.
Yeah, so let me share my screen again. Okay, so hopefully this looks familiar. At our last meeting, we came with our consultants to discuss the changes that we were being considered in the education and outreach section of the plan. And we got your folks' input at that time, and we are still taking input. So I didn't know if people had done any more thinking about some of these suggested modifications that we were considering. I think, Chair, you requested at the last meeting to be able to see the whole plan in total, so you could see sort of how everything is starting to fit together. We have received, Nahu and I have received the draft of the entire document, and we began reviewing it with the consultant team this afternoon, and we have another meeting with them tomorrow. So wasn't yet ready for distribution. We are still finalizing or firming up the actual schedule for all of our internal reviews and public review. But generally, what we're looking at is to have a version of the entire document ready for public comment during March, at which time we would also be conducting simultaneous or parallel reviews of that complete document with Maunakea Management Board, Kangkumana, and Environment Committee. So all of our advisory groups. We will then take all of that input and make final recommended changes. And then we will be meeting with the Regents Maunakea Permitted Interaction Group towards the end of March, beginning of April, to review all of those public comments. And then the Maunakea Interaction Group has to prepare its report to the full Board of Regents. Some of this schedule is still tentative because we don't know exactly how the public comment period will go. We have it planned. We're going to do pretty much what we did with the master plan in terms of online ability to go to a website and provide direct input. We are looking at agendizing this item at a Maunakea Management Board meeting in March, probably March 15th, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So we anticipate that will be another opportunity, not just for the board, but for the public to also provide their comment. And then we're looking at reaching out to stakeholder groups during the public comment period to get their input directly as well. So we'll be repeating the process that we did with the master plan, compiling all of the input we receive, and taking all of that and making further changes to the plan before it actually goes to the regents or the permitting interaction group for their review before it goes to the regents. So this schedule is dynamic, and we're having to sort of adjust things as we go, because we don't know. Well, there's quite a bit of work involved in obviously updating 103 management actions, but we also don't know exactly how the public comment period itself is going to go. But that's generally the schedule that we're working towards. I wanted to bring this back to this group today just to once again reconsider or see if there's any further input this body had on any of these questions that we had asked, that we discussed, that we had asked people to consider, or on any other aspects of at least what we had presented at our last meeting, because we would like to capture those if there is additional input and make sure the planning team has that. So at this point, I'm just going to open it up to questions, conversation, discussion to see if there's anything more this body would like to provide input on at this point. But the overall schedule is to bring the full document back to this group in March.
So Greg, I was able to listen to the rest of the meeting because I had to leave early, and I liked just the idea of trying to coordinate a lot of the efforts that are being made by different groups that pertain to the environment and, you know, educating and, you know, the outreach that goes on. Because I think, you know, we just can't do it all ourselves, and CMS in particular, you know, there's a lot that can be, a lot of mileage that can be obtained by using, you know, other groups and community efforts to spread the word, you know, get the information out. So I do, you know, encourage, you know, putting as much together in a calendar or some, you know, some keeping track of all of it, I guess, in one place would be helpful.
Yeah, as you know, I mean, as you can probably figure out, particularly when it comes to education and outreach, this is a responsibility that actually several of us share. Imiloa has under the new management structure, Imiloa has a, you know, important role and responsibility in helping us, university, sort of pull together and improve CMS's training programs, but also help us pull together sort of our overall university efforts. But as Andy knows, all of the MKOs have their own outreach endeavors. And so there's actually discussion going on now with the MKOs and their outreach folks about how to better coordinate and utilize those resources collectively. Whether those changes that are agreed upon in time to make it into this plan, I don't think so. But I'm pleased with the fact that those discussions are going on, where, you know, the MKOs and UH and Imilo are all working more collaboratively and collectively on how those efforts can be better, not just organized and coordinated, but leveraged. So I think that's a big step in the right direction. But yeah, just getting things on the calendar by itself is difficult enough, just because there's so many entities involved and so many programs that are incorporated in every, part of the collective outreach effort.
But I think if we start, that's a good place to,
Yep,
to,
definitely.
I mean, because to me, it's really about the effort and, the desire to take steps to, promote better education, better outreach. I mean, I don't think you would be ridiculed for doing it. I think, it would be applauded. Yeah.
Yeah. This is definitely more one of those situations where more is better.
Yeah. Anybody else have any comments that want to add to your thoughts?
Yeah, again, I just brought this back on the agenda just to provide opportunity for any more input that folks may have considered since the last meeting. And once again, we will be bringing the entire document back to this group. Okay, so if there's no other input at this point on this, Chair, I guess we could move on to the next agenda item.
Okay, hold on.
Okay,
Okay, so I think,
yeah. So the next agenda item is I would actually request, Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we go into an executive session to discuss the boards with our board attorney, some questions and matters pertaining to our powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities, specifically regarding MKMB membership. So I'd like to move that we go into executive session, please.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Diana. There's a motion and a second to go into executive session. Well, I don't think we have any discussion. Can we go ahead and vote? All in favor for executive session, please say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous vote. So we will now move into executive session and then resume the meeting after that.
So remember to use the other link, right, that Carrie sent out. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I will call the regular meeting back in order. Let's see. All right, announcements. So the next meeting, I think, Greg, you were going to recommend a different date, if I was not mistaken.
Yeah. Our next regularly scheduled public meeting is first Tuesday in March, which is March 1st. What we would like to do is, and then that we were going to have our a special meeting on the 15th. What we'd like to do is have our regular meeting on the 15th instead. And the purpose there is so that we can provide you folks a draft of the comprehensive management plan, and with enough time to review it. Hopefully we were able to get that to you in the beginning of March, if not a little sooner. And then be able to take it up at the public meeting on the 15th.
Okay, so we'd switch and have a special meeting on March 1st. Was it the 1st?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
And then instead of the special meeting on the 15th, we'd have our public meeting.
That's correct. We just switch them.
All right, it's fine with me. Anybody have any problems with that? Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
So we'll make that change. Okay. So Gary, did I have to say anything before I consider adjourning the meeting?
I don't think so, other than maybe Happy New Year, everybody.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say that.
You should say it in all 4 languages that you
Yeah,
shared with
I
Diana
will.
and I.
I can say it in 4 different languages, but before that, just repeating again for everyone, we will have a special meeting on Tuesday, March 1st at 5 o'clock. And then our next public board meeting will be on Tuesday, March 15th at 5 o'clock. And I will adjourn the meeting on that note, but here's Happy New Year in 4 languages. Gong Hei Fa Choi, Cantonese, Shin Nen Guayla, Mandarin, Akemashite Omedetou Gozaimasu, Japanese, and Hau'oli Makahiki Ho, Hawaiian. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you on March 1st. No, is that right? No, we have
Yep.
a
First special meeting.
we have a special meeting. We're not going to have a special meeting.
Oh,
now.
yes. You're right. Yeah,
We
in
are,
2
right?
weeks,
So
in
we're
2
going to have
weeks.
2 special meetings.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I don't have my calendar in front of me. So the next special meeting is 2 Tuesdays from now.
Yep. 2 Tuesdays from now.
Okay.
Okay.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.